Young people today are going to enter a workforce that has been changed dramatically by the effects of COVID and our recent new awareness of racial inequality. To help us consider the economy that young people are going to enter and how to make sure that both youth and employers are ready for it, we've invited Brian McPherson to join us on the show today. Brian McPherson is the Executive Director of YouthBuild Boston and has extensive experience in working to increase diversity in the construction field. This is Coffee Time with Masterminds, a 30-minute show for leaders of mission-based organizations where we talk about leading organizations through times of change. I'm Peta Blakely, and I'm the founder and principal of Blakely Consulting. I'm joined today by Cynthia Rojas and Rebecca Tuttle. Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, Cynthia. Rebecca.
How are you?
Good. Cynthia is the founder and principal of 2-Year Growth. And Rebecca Tuttle is the founder and principal of Grant Right Now and Grant Writing for Good.
Yes.
We are very excited to be talking today with Brian McPherson. Brian has spent many years increasing diversity in the construction trades. He's previously served as Director of Access and Opportunity for the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance at the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and as Director of Diversity and Workforce Compliance for Suffolk Construction Company. Brian is currently the Executive Director of YouthBuild Boston, where he prepares youth for careers in the construction industry. He is a proud graduate of an historically Black college and university, and among his many distinguished honors is the 2012 Boston Business Journal's Leaders in Diversity Award. Good morning, Brian, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Brian, you've been in this field for years and years. What are you seeing that's new right now?
What's new? What's new is there's a new interest to engage with the community. I'm seeing more and more contractors reaching out, more and more contractors with the light bulb going off, if you will, to say, you know what, I really need to do something different than what I've done in the past and find new partners. So that is something that is really come to light, especially in the wake of the George Floyd murder, just to really engage and find true partners and try to make an impact and a serious difference in our community.
Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about, creating those partnerships.
So we are really engaged with those developers and the construction companies that truly want to partner with us. We are, first of all, we're a proud MBE organization. We're Minority Business Enterprise certified by the state of Massachusetts. So we can partner as a contractor. That's the unique ability that we have. We are a licensed general contractor, and we build affordable housing. We've done over 100 units of affordable housing in the 30 plus years that we've been in the business. So we pride ourselves on that. And those affordable houses become the classrooms for our students. And we look for more opportunities in the city to partner with contractors and developers to create more of those opportunities. So we can become a subcontractor on the job, and our students will become employees in the union with an apprenticeship, learning the trades. So those are the type of opportunities that we look for, and those are partnerships that we look for, not just in the construction trades, but we also have a program for the designery, which we partner with various high schools to get those 10th and 11th and 12th graders the skills they need to propel them into the architectural field. So we're very proud of that program. And then we have another program called the Facilities Maintenance Program that works with students to get them into facility maintenance apprenticeship. We are the first and only certified apprenticeship for facilities maintenance in the state of Massachusetts. So we're just tickle pink to be able to offer that to our partners as well. So we have a four-pronged approach with various ways that we can create partnerships on construction projects and development.
That's cool. Peter, I actually have a question. I thought, Peter, you had an interesting opening and something we have not talked about, because as you mentioned before the show, we've been doing this for over a year and we don't talk about young people a lot. And they are going to enter a workforce that is very different. And not only for them, but it's different for our generation and people who have lived through it and know different ways of being. And we don't even have the tools because we're learning it as well. And so what do you, and I don't know, Peter, Brian, Rebecca, what do you guys think are some of the issues that our young people are going to face in this new way of existing?
Yeah, well, there's nothing new in the construction industry when it comes to showing up and just being on time. And we look at we try to get them the basic skills that they need to be present, to be safe on the construction sites. The only thing that's new is how we're operating in COVID, and that's been virtually to some extent. But we have had some construction projects that have been going on through all of 2020. And we find that other youth build organizations have not had those opportunities. And they're actually just getting restarted. So we've been able to kind of stay afloat with minimal layoffs and really have the construction proceed. So it's just getting them the tools they need, the equipment they need, and the skills that they need. That's all kind of staying the same. Don't get me wrong, the technology is changing every day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
those are some of the new things that we are learning and getting our students the skill sets on. But we're happy to say that we're giving them the basics they need to be successful, to be on time, to be prompt, and just to be ready.
And young people tend to be resilient, right? Probably far more than we are. And it's probably because they don't know another way. I would imagine that safety precautions or, the things that they have to think about now that we all take for granted are probably just normal to them at this point.
No, absolutely. They bounce back well. They adapt well. I see it every day on the job sites, and as they show up in the morning. It's refreshing. I'm usually here at 6:45 in the morning. That's just my old the construction DNA that's in me, and it's great to see students at the door. We have a couple of projects that are right here in the neighborhood, and in Roxbury, and they show up in the morning. They're ready to go. They're getting their tools. So it's good to see that they're practicing those things, the little things that the construction community is looking for with their new personnel.
This is really right up my alley because my husband's an architect, so I love this conversation. And one of the things that their firm and my husband, he also teaches, is very mindful of is how can you mentor up and coming architectural and construction industry students or mentees, without them having to accrue all of these costs just to get to the point where they can start gaining that valuable experience. And I love what you're saying, Brian, about all of that, how mindful you are of giving students a real hands-on experience, and that by doing, that's the learning. I think that's so important, especially with youth. Cynthia, to your question about how all this is impacting youth, I think COVID has been very traumatic for all of us, but especially our youth, and also very confusing. And the more that we can normalize things for kids, I think the better off they're going to be. And by normalizing, I mean putting them in situations or circumstances where they can practice a new skill or, feel that things are moving forward and not not backwards or stagnant. I think that's really, really important. And I love what you're talking about, Brian. I think everyone should become an MBE because of the set-asides and the funding alone for MBE organizations is pretty tremendous. Wouldn't you say? Do you want to talk more about how, because my area is funding. Are you finding funding to support your programs that you're offering for youth?
Yes, but we always have our hand out. We're always looking for partners. We're always looking. We're always looking for people to invest in our youth. These youth they are our clients, and it's just to go back to the architecture conversation a little bit. When I was in 10th grade, 11th grade, learning the basics of architecture, it was I was doing boxes and doing perspectives and things like that. But the youth that we are training in today's classes, they are, from my perspective, they are at that freshman or sophomore year level in college with the type of information they're learning. When we look at the final projects, just their whole thought process and the patterns, they are really on a different level. So we have that great ability to give them those skills and really set them up for success with the partnering colleges that we work with. But yeah, so we've recently been recertified as an MBE, and for a nonprofit to achieve MBE status, that means that we have to have 51% of our board members be minority, from minority descent. And so we're very proud to have that distinction with the state of Massachusetts. That's something that we work really great with our contractors who need to participate with MBEs because we can perform work on the job site. We can help purchase materials as a minority business enterprise. So we really bring that value to the contractor that we are, a serious player in this business, but we're serious about educating and lifting up our students and giving them those real opportunities, boots on the ground type of opportunities.
I think this is, this is so timely what we're talking about in education right now. I think there's something of a crisis in the four-year college industry. I think my interpretation is young people were misled for a long time with the colleges for everybody policy. And, where the focus really needs to be right now is trades, apprenticeships, certifications, and 2-year college pathways. So what YouthBuild is working on is, in my opinion, the future of the workforce industry. So, Brian,
I just want to say, Peter, to your point, what's really interesting? When we were writing grants 2-3 years ago, we were projecting, based on what the research projections were, that there wouldn't be enough people to fill trade roles, trade type jobs after 2020 and beyond. And we're seeing that now. It's pretty amazing because that was in anticipation of some suspect, right? But now we're actually seeing it come true. So, and you're right.
Industries have said we don't really need a 4-year college. We need, a 2-year post high school engineering degree, but not a 4-year college degree.
Yeah, that's
not college. I obviously have college degrees, but it's not for everyone.
And that's
getting young people into the workforce, especially in construction, is it's archaic. We're really trying to get these folks into an industry that is growing older each and every day. So we have. I always tell people this. If we had 10 YouthBuild Bostons in the city, in the various different corners of the city, all doing the same thing at the same time and graduating the same amount of students, we would barely be moving the dial, just in the amount of diversity that's needed in the workforce and in the upcoming future. It's it's really top heavy with older people that have been there for 20, 30 years who know their stuff, but really aren't reaching out to the diverse workforce that they need to be. So there are some great organizations out there doing some great things, and we're just one of many.
And the innovation that young people bring is just extraordinary. And so I have to be honest, Brian, when I think about equity or I think about social justice, the construction field is not the first to come up in my head, right? And I know YouthBuild is a nonprofit, but tell me where the equity lies, or where is it centered in terms of the construction business? Help me understand that.
Well, the conversation always has to start at the top. So any owner, any developer thinking about any jurisdiction, any city, any town, any state looking to invest in construction has to be at the forefront of the request, because it's not going to make it down to the little guys like us to be even asked to join a team, to be a part of a situation. I'll give you a great example. I was building a project back when I was with my former employer, and this gentleman, he was a Caucasian gentleman from New Hampshire, and he was traveling every day in to work on a project. And he had 10 other white guys from New Hampshire that were traveling in with him. And it was his responsibility to diversify the crew. He was responsible to hire minorities, women, and Boston residents. And he did not think that that was possible or needed to do that. So it was a challenge for him. And we had some tough conversations around that, and were able to get his crew diversified. So, but it starts at the top. If it had not been for the city's ordinance, we would not have been able to ask him to do what he needed to do with regards to obtaining minorities and women and City of Boston residents within his workforce. So the change was made, but it was a twisting of the arm that had to happen to make things happen.
Yeah. And then I'm curious about generations, right? Because you mentioned, there are people still in the industry who've been there for years. And, generations tend to be territorial in terms of their knowledge, the way they do things. And you have to admit, this new generation is amazing, and they blow it out the park all the time. I mean, they're innovative, and they think about efficiency. How does that work itself out in the field?
Yeah, so this industry is filled with men and women who have been in the industry, who are always trying to get their son, their daughter, their nephew, their niece in the industry. And so it's been the good old boys network for quite some time. So what I tell my students, when you graduate, I'm going to be Uncle Brian. Uncle Brian is going to help you, navigate this. I'm going to show you how to be successful in this industry, whether you want to be a carpenter, electrician, whatever it is. I want you to master that skill, because after, 5 years, 10 years in the industry, we're going to have a conversation about building your business. So that's where you got to, take people to take their mindset and really pull them along and think beyond what they can presently see and do. It's got to be something much more than that. So giving them those skills, giving them the path, giving them the tools, and giving them the plan to be successful is what we do here at YouthBuild Boston.
Brian, I think with that comes also a level of responsibility that you're offering to students at a younger age than I think a traditional college path would. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I went through college, I wasn't thinking about, I was just there transitioning and learning. It was hard. But it wasn't until I graduated and got out in the real world that I felt that, wow, this is what the world is like. But you're giving students that experience right out of high school or in high school. That's pretty amazing. And I imagine that you really get to know your students and help in the mentoring piece, especially because being out in the world and doing real world work is hard and takes a certain level of maturity. So it's almost as though those students are more mature, right, in that role than some of us who went another path and were in college just, I have a few more years before I have to start putting this into practice. Even if we're doing internship in college, it's not the same as what you're describing.
A real work experience.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a family here, and that goes back to my attending a historically Black college. I'll touch on that a little bit. Just when you go to a historically Black college, there are African American instructors that are there, professors that are invested in your success. So that's the kind of mentality I bring to Youth Build Boston. We have a very diverse staff here and very diverse board. So I want them to see people that look just like them that are in the industry, people that they can go and talk to, people that they can bounce ideas off of. So absolutely, I'm engaged with our alumni. I'm so excited to be talking to them about new opportunities. But that's what it takes, a strong mentoring. I always tell people, I have this saying that I always tell my students, your network, your net worth is equal to your net worth. So you've got to really jump out there, increase your network, and find those mentors, and just be ready to be molded so you can be successful.
YouthBuild has one really important practice that I want us to talk about, which is that the young people are stipended. And I think that is really important in reducing barriers for youth to be able to participate, right? Especially youth who come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Brian, can you talk a little bit about that practice, how it came about and why it matters in your organization?
Yeah, you can offer a kid an opportunity, but you got to really be able to understand the things that they're going through, whether it's socially, financially, emotionally. So we want to be able to jump over some of those barriers for them and with them. So having a stipend, being able to, get a couple $100 a week is a big deal, because that student is weighing the balances, the decisions of, do I want to go work at Stop and Shop, or do I want to, come get this education and still get, some type of a salary on that. So, they're weighing those real life challenges that we all go through. How are they, helping their parents put food on the table? That's what a lot of these kids are struggling with, the day-to-day survival. We've got to help them get through that. So we have a great support staff with partners and people that kind of help us around that. There was a big, during the COVID, a big issue of food insecurity. So we're able to help provide our students with food cards from Stop and Shop and things like that to help their families out. So yes, there's some real obstacles around finances, and we want to set them up and give them that financial support as much as we can. And we try to do that in the way of stipends. And when we do get those contract opportunities, they'll be making an apprenticeship's wage for the first time. So we want to show them those opportunities as well.
We forget, it's interesting because I get reminded about this with young people, but we forget young people have bills, right? A lot of them are paying for their cell phone, right? Mm-hmm. In the world of technology, you need the noise cancellation headphones. Those things are very costly, right? Many of them need better laptops than what they would get from school. So our young people also have financial responsibility.
And a lot of them are, contributing to their household finances.
Yes.
It's not, I think, people who come from economically privileged backgrounds think that the young people are just earning pocket money, and that it's all for fun. But in a lot of households, it's an important part of the family budget.
Yeah, and we forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've had those challenges with our students. Sometimes, we can't get a hold of them. It's because their phones are shut off. So we've had to, help them with getting their phones back on, and we've provided laptop Chromebooks to them as well. So yes, everything we need to be engaged and stay engaged with them, we do our very best to try to provide for them.
Yep. And then driving school starts coming up, and all the costs related to getting a license. And
well, it's a big deal in the construction field. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about on this show is taking asset-based and not deficit-based approaches. And I think, especially with youth, sometimes when youth are unengaged or they're not attending or they've taken another job, we accuse them of being short-sighted, of not planning ahead, of not being invested in the program, of not being responsible. And I think it's really important to understand that they're facing some actual real barriers, and it's the responsibility of the program to help remove those barriers.
Yeah.
And to give them identity, right? They're more than just a student in a program, a number to meet your recruitment. Is give them identity and to talk about them, right? Here is, student, his name is Sam. For confidentiality, we don't have to give you his last name, but, here is Sam's situation. He came through our program. This is what he designed. This is what he helped build. Really celebrating the success and the personalities of who is in your program is very important. And funders like that. They like to know, who are you serving? Tell me about them. It's really exciting. Brian, how can we support you? Because I love what you're doing. And, I write grants all the time, especially for youth. And how can we support you? That's what I would like to know. I don't even have a takeaway today. I just want to know, what can we do to lend you more support? Because I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I have an older student, and for all of his electives, I didn't choose business and psychology. Yeah. I chose HVAC, electrical, and plumbing to give him that experience now. And he may not go the traditional path, So how can we support you? I would love to know.
YouthBuildBoston.org is our website. So please go to our website. Please give. If people want to give, please give to support us. We're about a $2 million organization. About $1 million comes from the Department of Labor every year. And then the other $1 million, we have to go out and fundraise and ask people to give and join us. So we have some great partners out there. But there was a great story on our website. The campaign just went out. The letter campaign just went out yesterday. So please go read about Malik and Marquise Simpson and their sister who came through the program a few years ago. And Malik and Marquise are new. They're growing. They're pre-apprenticeship students doing a great job in our program right now. But go to our website and read their story. It's on our blog. It's on our Facebook. It's on our Instagram page. So please follow us on social media. And we do just that. We tell a lot of those stories of our students on a weekly basis. So you'll find out who these students are, how they're doing from the various different programs, and you will get to meet them and see how they're growing, what they're learning, and how they're succeeding. So please go read about that story of the Simpson brothers and their sister and how they're changing the tide in their family. So it's a very beautiful story.
Oh, that's great. I love that you're following the kids. Yeah, following their progress. This is awesome.
Brian, we like to always leave our viewers with an action step. For organizations that are working with youth right now, especially, in the era of COVID, or the late part of COVID, what should leaders be thinking about right now?
Leaders have got to, I make it a point, there's a lot of things I do throughout the course of the week with my staff, with funders, with the board, but I make it a point to actually go out, meet, and talk to my students every single week. I'm at a job site. I'm on a Zoom meeting with them. I'm meeting them here in the office now. So you can't lose that touch. You got to understand what their needs are, and you got to meet them where those needs are at. So never be too high. Always, come down to where the student is and meet their every need.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cynthia, do you have a takeaway from today's show?
Well, first of all, I thank you for really expanding, my world and really helping understand that there are equity issues within the construction business. There are young people who are entering a workforce that looks very different than what it looked like for us. And so you also, and we didn't talk too much about it, you also mentioned women, which is also part of the diversity. And so that is, I love to see women on a job site. It's, when I drive by them, I'm like, yeah. I see female truck drivers. I love that. I usually beat my horn. Yay. So just thank you, Brian. Thank you for really widening my view in this area.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the conversation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Rebecca, do you have a takeaway? Oh, you don't have a takeaway. You gave it away.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, how can we help? This was so much fun, Brian. And we invite our guests back. I'd love to have you come continue the conversation and share more of your success stories with us. Because
yeah,
I think you're right. We don't talk about youth enough. So thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All
Have a
right.
great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.